And welcome back to Zanaputo Creation Series. This one is not coming from anyone. This is on my personal list, kind of just going through the motions of rotating. What is the Zanaputo? I haven't done a Naruto one in a while. Shikamaru Nara from Naruto. Shikamaru is an interesting individual. It's very clear to me that he has a Kido-esque Zanaputo. He's an intelligent individual. He's lazy, but he's extremely brilliant, very calculating, and he's not much in terms of a physical fighter. So in terms of a Zanaputo, a Keto-based one makes a lot of sense. And perhaps even a Keto/Elemental one. Now, its normal form would still take the form of a katana. That I have no doubt. Its release would be lay back. Now, the name of it would actually just be very simple. Shadow Cloud, or Kage Kumo. And then its Bankai would be Shadow Nightmare, Kage no Okuma. Now, its spirit would take the form of a black stag, because his family is renowned for, their deer being deer raisers. They raise deer, and they in the forest the deer live in are under their protection. So I think that black stag, like a shadow stag, would make a lot of sense. In terms of what the Shikai looks like, I imagine it as like a flip side. Now this is from Ninja Gaiden. Which one? Ninja Gaiden. But basically, it's a scythe that can basically take the form of two forms, really. It's as a scythe, but the blade can basically just flip in and be used more in line to kind of like a staff or with a blade on, almost like an axe, because the blade obviously would jettison out because it's so large. And that, I believe, is how it worked. Now, in terms of what it does, any shadow that would be struck by the scythe is under the scythe's control, and so forth is the object. Now, this obviously goes very much in line with the Shadow Possession Jutsu, but that is because the Yin and Yang chakras are a lot more connected to your soul than, say, any of the elemental chakras are. So actually using things like the Shadow Clone Jutsu in conjunction with the Zanpakuto makes a bit more sense here. This also makes a lot of sense with Shikamaru's personality. He is someone who's a lot more reactionary. He's not going to be proactive and just run in head first like a Kenpachi or an Ichigo or a Renji or something like that. But he's going to be more like a Byakuya. He's going to be more like an Urahara, planning ahead and vying for time. Now, this Shikai clearly has a very big weakness. Lack of shadows make this pretty much just a melee weapon. An effective melee weapon if someone knows how to use it, but a melee weapon. Zanpakuto is also not going to be very effective at night, because it's not there. Everything is dark. There's no shadows at night. I mean, there are shadows as long as there's moonlight, but it's not going to be as effective. Shadows are going to be more harder to distinguish. And the intense light of other Zanpakutos can just dissipate the effects. He could, in theory, be controlling something, but if someone just does a blinding flash from a light like Kido or something like that, or a Zanpakuto ability, it's going to just negate the effect and just cause it to stop working. The Bankai of this blade is just an exaggeration. The shadows wrap around Shikamaru, and the shadows can basically attack. The shadows basically wrap around and solidify around the opponent, and basically act kind of like as a living organism. Now, this doesn't take any specific form, but he can control the shadows as he wills. The shadows in the scythe he can also concentrate the shadows into his weapon for a massive controlled dark slash attack. And he could, and I can imagine if we were looking at a Naruto version of Bleach, where he's confronting Hidan and got the final attack in on Hidan, his Bankai is taking the form. He's manipulating the form of the Bankai into the stag, as he's basically just getting his final revenge. Hint, hint, for if I ever do for when the Naruto Bleach crossover comes, or at least one of them, because there's 3 different ways I can do a crossover for any series, really. I can just basically do one of the series played up in the world of the other series. So, for instance, I could do Naruto in the style of Bleach, or Bleach in the style of Naruto. Or I can actually try to combine the worlds. That becomes a lot more difficult because you got to then try to combine stories, and you got to try to combine the actual world, especially when they don't make sense to really combine. Like Bleach and Naruto, in terms of combining their worlds together, like the ongoing stories together, does not actually make a lick of sense. It does not add up. There is the 4th option, which is actually the most likely option. Not the most likely, but is the most... It's the most, well, okay, let me rephrase that. It's the most likely to do as opposed to the other two, and that's insert the characters from one series into the other. So insert a lot of the Bleach characters into the Naruto series, and insert the Naruto characters into the Bleach series. I just went on a rant about how to do a what if about Bleach Naruto crossover. That's not what this video is about. But I've pretty much gone over everything. By the way, a little side note, you'll notice that there's more pictures than this. This is due to the fact that I actually finally figured out what the problem was with the amount of with the images I was doing. It had to do with files, or it had to do with the subject of the image. Now, this still prevents me from doing certain thumbnails, because it's not going to read certain thumbnails as images, or certain pictures as images for me to do as thumbnails. But in terms of what I can just put in the video, well, that's fine. Like, there's no issue there. So, yeah, that's actually quite a bit of a relief on my shoulders. So, yeah. Ultimately, that is what I think the Zanaputo of Shikamaru would be. I think it'd be a cool Zanaputo. I'd like to see a more shadow. I mean, we have the darkest one of Ichibei, but that's not a shadow-based one. I'd like to see a cool shadow-based Zanaputo. Until then, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. And I'll see you folks for the next one. Have a good one.